Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Get Your Change the World Message Out interview with Amy Summers from Pitch Inc. I'm Robert Craven of Launch Natural, and this is the first in a series of interviews with very talented executives in the natural products industry in particular. And I'm happy to be here with Amy. Amy and I have known each other for several years now, and I think she's one of the best in the industry when it comes to PR. I've asked her to join us today to talk about this whole concept of getting your message out. As everyone knows, I love to work with passionate, change the world entrepreneurs, and my objective today is to try to help, especially young companies that have a great message, great story, great background, either personally that relates to their product, get a few tips from Amy on how they might get their word out. So Amy, welcome today. Good to see you.
Thanks, Robert.
Why don't you take a few minutes and tell us just a little bit about Pitch and your background? I just want to establish the credibility that I already know you have. So tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the industry, what it is you specialize in, how you started Pitch, that kind of thing.
Well, I've been in the PR industry for 15 years now, and specifically working with clients in the natural products industry for the past 10 years. And our company specializes in getting people in the news and products in the news. And we always tell people we make you a star. But we're really communications specialists, and we're very good at figuring out how to make your product or your service or your book tie into what's going on in the news every day. Because that's what journalists are looking for, is that newsworthy angle that they can tie in stories, which ultimately leads to getting product publicized.
That's a great point. So you just made the point of trying to tie into everyday news articles. I think that's excellent, especially when there are so many passionate entrepreneurs in the space that have something to say, and they really have a message and a story. So let's dive right in. What are some of the keys to getting that message out? If I'm a young, passionate entrepreneur, I've got a great story and a great background that helped me to develop my product or service, what are some of the keys to getting that word out? What are some of the real things that I should remember as a CEO?
Well, if we're talking specifically about getting your message out in the news media, the first thing you have to do is really study the news and find out what it is they're reporting on, because they have to run everything through that filter. So you look for larger themes, national themes that are going on in the country that you can relate to. Then you look for a local angle. Perhaps your business, has a real local story, and that is appealing to local news media. The third thing is, what's the human interest story behind what you're talking about? The news media, they're always looking for, how does this product affect everyday people? And then last is what we call in the business a news tag, or more simply, why now? Why do we have to talk about this right now? And that's another thing you want to look for. Is it Heart Month, or is it, summertime, and that's a very important time for your product. So you want to look for general, more generic themes as well. And if you can tie all those four things into what you're talking about, then you have a good news story.
Excellent. So that's what I'm assuming that's what a company like Pitch would do, is to track those news stories and those cycles and to help a company with that. But it's a good tip. If I'm not to a point where I can afford a PR agency right now, I can kind of do that on my own as well. So that's excellent. Now, as it relates to the messaging, what should I think about? I personally meet a lot of young entrepreneurs who are hesitant to put their own story out there. They're hesitant they feel like people don't really care about who they are and what they're doing and what their message is. Some really just need that permission to go there. How important is it to get your own story out there, and how might you do that? What are the keys to getting your message out?
Well, I think authenticity is really important, especially in the natural products space, because there are so many truly authentic companies. And this is one of the big differences between maybe your business and a very large business. A Coca-Cola is going to have a hard time being authentic, because we don't have that backstory. If you have a backstory and you have a certain passion to tell people about, that's really important and can kind of give you an edge as a smaller company. In fact, very large companies will buy out smaller companies because they do have that authentic backstory. And if you can publicize that backstory, it can actually make your company more valuable and add to its overall brand equity.
Yeah, I've got an example of that real quick. The concept of a backstory. I've worked with companies in the past where the father of a boy with autoimmune disorder, really had to clean the house. This is kind of the typical boy in the bubble, and went out and bought antibacterial. 99.9%. Kill the bugs, antibacterials like Lysol, and it ended up making the boy sicker. So he went on a search to find an all-natural solution to a pure antibacterial, and a company was born. I think that's a fantastic story. Some of the hesitation that I get from an entrepreneur in that vein might be, well, I don't want to sound, like I've got too much ego here. What are some of the keys to making sure that you get that story out in the right way, so that it doesn't come across as ego or conceitedness or those kinds of things?
Going back to what I mentioned before about the 4 things to really make a story a good news story, your authentic story behind maybe why you started a company or why you developed a product, that is a human interest story in and of itself. And so if you have a human interest story, you're going to make your story about your company or product more newsworthy, first of all. And the second thing I would say is that there's a difference between being egocentric and being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And in today's time, people really are looking for authenticity. That's why social media is so popular right now, because it's a way for consumers to find out, the backstory or some personal tidbit about a CEO of a company. They see your corporate self on your website, but they get to know you as a person on some of those other social networking sites. And so it's very important to the consumer that's growing up in the next generation that they connect with who you are and they know who you are. Because when they make purchasing decisions, they want to feel like that they are, really behind the companies that they're buying products from.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I think it's so important for these entrepreneurs, these passionate entrepreneurs, to really let their heart, kind of hang out there on their sleeve a little bit and lead with that.